My name is Nathan Wells. And if someone had told me a year ago that my three-car garage would become the front lines of a suburban power struggle, I would have offered them a lawn chair and a cold beer while laughing it off. Back then, I had no enemies. I wasn't looking for a fight. My uncle had left me this house as prized sanctuary when he passed away 2 years ago, and I took that responsibility seriously. The house sits just beyond the official jurisdiction of the Ashton Hills Homeowners Association, a legal technicality I barely even acknowledged until the war began. Back then, Ashton Hills was just a name on a map, a symbol of picket fences and symmetrical hedges. My property wasn't part of their HOA. I was free. I could paint my shutters cranberry red instead of regulation taupe, and plant wildflowers without begging a committee's permission. I'd restored the house carefully, maintaining its legacy while quietly carving out my own. The trellises in the back had vines trained just the way my uncle liked. I turned one garage bay into a personal workspace for carpentry, and every decision I made about the property came from love and memory, not policy. That all changed when Miranda Talbot took over as HOA president. If you've ever met someone who seems like their spirit animal is a spreadsheet, you've met Miranda. Clipboard permanently in hand, crisp polo shirts with the HOA logo stitched over her heart like it was a badge of honor, and a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. She moved in 6 months before the trouble started, and within 2 weeks had tripled landscaping fines, banned overnight parking on every street, and micromanaged her way into every resident's afternoon. I ignored it at first. Why should I care? I wasn't under a rule. My land was outside their borders. My deed, maps, and zoning permits were clear. Ironclad. I had them notarized and filed in triplicate, for heaven's sake. But Miranda didn't care about legal boundaries. To her, if you were within view, you were within reach. It started slow. Flyers left on my gate about voluntary community upgrades. An envelope taped to my garage inviting me, with just a touch of condescension, to the next board meeting. I ignored them. Then came the letter. It was formal, printed on HOA letterhead with a wax stamp seal I didn't know HOAs even used. Inside, it said I was to turn over keys to my garage by the end of the week to allow Ashton Hills HOA access for infrastructure development. Beneath the legalese was a work schedule outlining trench digging, pipe placement, and repaving, all of it flowing through my property as if I'd already signed off. The kicker? A fine schedule at the back, $1,000 per day for noncompliance. Max penalty, $30,000. No discussion, no explanation, just a demand with Miranda's sweeping signature beneath it like a threat dipped in perfume. I called her that afternoon. "Nathan," she said in a syrupy voice, "I was hoping you'd reach out." "There's a mistake," I told her. "I'm not under your HOA. You know that." "We're aware," she said smoothly. "But the board voted that your garage is vital to this project. It's underutilized, and frankly, Nathan, it's positioned perfectly." "I'm sorry, underutilized." She laughed, like I just told her a joke. "You don't use all 3 bays. We're asking for temporary access. Don't worry, it won't be long-term unless you delay things." Then the fine structure applies. She really thought she could bulldoze her way through private land with a smile and a clipboard. Within the hour, I called my friend and attorney, Julia Mercer. She used to work corporate real estate law before switching to property rights. I scanned her the documents and got a call back before I'd even finished dinner. "This is unlawful," she said. "They submitted construction permits claiming you consented." Turns out, the HOA filed falsified zoning maps claiming the western edge of my property was part of a greenbelt reserve. Not only had they submitted those maps to the city, they'd already approved contractors and submitted trench permits. Construction was set to begin in 5 days. They weren't asking for permission. They were betting I'd be too slow or too afraid to fight back. They didn't know who they were dealing with. In 2 days, I transformed my home into Fort Knox. First, I installed a security system with multiple layers. Visible cameras above the garage. Hidden cameras disguised in lawn ornaments and old birdhouses. A backup power source in case they cut electricity. Then came motion sensors, tripwires, and dummy signs warning of active anti-tamper systems. A bit dramatic, maybe, but effective. 2 days later, at exactly 4:13 p.m., a black SUV pulled up. Two men stepped out, one with a clipboard, one with a crowbar. They walked onto my lawn like it was public property. The man with the crowbar began prying at my garage door. I let him work. Then I hit the button. Spotlights burst to life. A pre-recorded warning blared. You are trespassing on private property. Law enforcement has been notified. They froze, and then they ran. But I had the footage, 3 camera angles. Faces, license plate, even Miranda's initials on the clipboard. Police arrived in 5 minutes. I handed them a flash drive. Julia was on speakerphone before the officers finished taking statements. This is a lawsuit, she said. A big one. But the real ambush came the next day. I left the house for the first time in a week, went to crash at my friend Chris's place, thinking the worst was over. When I returned early the next morning, my heart dropped. My garage was gutted. They'd come back in the middle of the night. The keypad was ripped off and replaced. My cameras were gone. The driveway was trenched from the curb to the garage. My roses, the ones I nurtured for years, were ripped out like weeds. A new lock sealed the door. It wasn't even mine, but I'd hidden one last camera, an SD-powered unit, inside the birdhouse. I retrieved the footage. There was Miranda, smiling like she'd just closed on a timeshare, directing men like a general at war. She watched as they tore through my property. She even taped a letter to my garage door before leaving. I tore it down. It read, "Dear Mr. Wells, the community thanks you for your silent cooperation. The work has begun and will proceed as scheduled. Interference will not be tolerated. M. Talbot." My hand shook with rage. The quiet kind of rage that doesn't yell. It plots. Within 24 hours, Julia filed a lawsuit. $2.5 million in damages. Charges: criminal trespass, conspiracy, zoning fraud, destruction of private property, coercion through threats. And then the story went viral. HOA seizes man's garage for pipeline project. The media storm made things worse for them. Local news picked it up. Then national. Reporters called. Activists got involved. Property rights organizations offered to fund the legal battle. In court, Julia was magnificent. She opened with the footage, played every angle, showed Miranda pointing, directing, smiling. Then came the blueprints stamped with my forged consent. Then the letter, her signature, her threat. The courtroom fell silent. Miranda's lawyer tried to claim community interest. The judge, a no-nonsense Vietnam vet named Justice Robichaud, interrupted. Are you asserting that fraudulent documents filed with the city constitute interest? They pivoted to painting me as hostile. But Julia destroyed that. My client used cameras and lights. The defendants used crowbars and excavators. Let's not confuse security with aggression. Then Miranda stood up, uninvited, and snapped. He provoked us. He kept ignoring our notices. He thought he was better than us. The judge banged the gavel. MS. Talbot. Seat. Down. 2 days of testimony followed. Zoning experts. A forensics tech who showed how the security system was bypassed. Even a whistleblower from the HOA board a man Miranda had threatened to remove if he didn't comply. The final blow? An email from Miranda's personal account uncovered during discovery. That redneck garage is getting converted into a pipeline hub, even if I have to dig the damn hole myself. The jury returned a verdict in under an hour. $2.3 million in damages. Full restoration of my property. Criminal referrals to the district attorney for fraud, conspiracy, and vandalism. Miranda didn't leave the courtroom victorious. She didn't leave angry. She left hollow, like someone who'd spent years bullying people and finally got called on it. The fallout was swift. Her assets were frozen. She was indicted. Her social media vanished. Her HOA throne crumbled. Residents turned on her. 3 board members resigned. One was fined $60,000. The HOA's budget was audited. Several fines were refunded to neighbors. One resident emailed me and said, "You didn't just win your case. You gave the whole street its spine back. And me? My garage is back stronger. Concrete reinforced. A new drainage system. Security tighter than a bank vault. The roses bloomed again. Better than before." I framed the letter she left me, the one thanking me for silent cooperation. It hangs in the garage beside a bronze plaque that reads, "She tried to dig a trench. Now she's digging her way out of probation." I host an annual barbecue, now the Garage Freedom Festival. There's cornhole, burgers, trivia contests about ridiculous HOA rules. One neighbor brought a cake shaped like a manhole cover that said, "Not today, Miranda." And every time someone asks how it all happened, I just point to the plaque and say, "I just wanted to park my car in peace." And I still do, with cameras, concrete, and the comfort of knowing that no clipboard-wielding tyrant will ever mess with my home again. Because in the end, justice wasn't just served. It was home delivered, with interest.